Buy a fucking house. Yeah, I see you. Buy a fucking house. Buy a fucking house. Buy a fucking house. There is still a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to home ownership. Today I want to share 5 common myths around home ownership. I'm going to explain to you why they're myths, why they're not factual, and hopefully, maybe if you were thinking that one of these myths is actually true, it will trigger something in you and you realize how realistic home ownership really is. So let's get right into it. You need to have perfect credit to purchase a home. This is absolutely false. I have helped so many different people with so many different types of credit scores, and it would shock you what the minimum credit scores actually are or what they need to be depending on the loan type that you're looking for. Most people think that you need perfect credit, right? 700, 720 plus, and absolutely that will definitely help pay less in the interest rate and overall fees. It's going to open up more loan options. However, that's not the minimum. In fact, the VA loan as well as the FHA loan have a minimum credit score as low as 520. 520, that's not a very good score. Now keep in mind there's a couple other little extra things that go into it when the score is that low. For example, with FHA, if you do have a credit score between 520 and 579, you're gonna have to put at least a 10% down payment. So if you do have a really low credit score, just keep in mind if you've got a lot of money to put down, then you might be okay. You can get a minimum down loan with FHA with as little as a 580 credit score. And going back to that VA example, 520 and above is still zero down for VA. So veterans, if you've got rough credit, that's okay. There's usually a lot of options out there that will allow you to get into that home. And let's say it is below 520 or below 500, you have no idea what to do to get it on track. Well, that's where I come in. I'd be happy to take a look at your situation. I've helped so many different people when it comes to credit repair. This is something I offer in-house. I can show you the steps what you need to do in order to get that score where you're wanting it to be. Now, if you are a little cash poor and don't have a ton of money even for the minimum down, that's okay too. Keep in mind we've got down payment assistance options that have a minimum credit score with as low as 620. So if you've got a 620 score or higher, then you've got some down payment assistance options. I don't know why this is a myth. Everyone thinks you need perfect credit. You absolutely do not. You need to get started. And if you don't know what your credit score is, start by reaching out to a loan officer. We can take a credit pull, take a look at the full situation and know exactly what it is. Your Credit Karma score or those apps that you use online, they're not always the most accurate because of how credit works. Depending on the type of credit you're asking for, your credit score can actually be different. So when you're applying for a mortgage loan, we're gonna look at one score compared to what you might see on Credit Karma or through those apps that you use. What if you don't have a credit score at all? Zero credit, nothing. Guess what? I have done loans for people with no credit score. It is absolutely a possibility. A few other things that go into it. We don't need to go into the details, but if you don't even have a credit score or if it's too low, just know there are options out there for you. You don't have to have absolutely perfect credit in order to buy a house. Myth number 2. You need a large down payment to purchase a home. No, absolutely not. This one still surprises me. In fact, the Association of Realtors recently did a survey to a bunch of renters throughout the country, and it was shocking. 45% of renters believed that you need 20% as a down payment for the minimum down. That's almost half. Almost half the people out there renting think you need 20% down to buy a house. My first house that I bought, I didn't put 20% down. Absolutely not. Your very first house, it's kind of crazy to save 20%. Like that's a lot of money if you think about it. If you look at like a $350,000 house, 20% is $70,000. How long is it gonna take you to save up $70,000? It can take a really, really long time. Just know there are options out there. In fact, for first-time homebuyers, your minimum down payment on a conventional loan can be as little as 3% down. So let's go back to that 350 example. 3% of 350,000 would be 10,500. 10,500 compared to 70,000, that's a massive difference. Let's say you don't even have the 10.5. Let's say you don't even have $2,000 or $3,000. That's okay. We have options for that too. There's tons of down payment assistance options. There are still zero down options. So just keep in mind, you don't need to have a lot of money to purchase a home. It's really, really surprising to me that so many people still think that. So going into that down payment assistance example, the majority of the people that I help do not have a ton of money. In fact, the most recent client that I helped, they closed on their house with with less than $1,000 out of pocket. I remember it was $609 because we just closed on it, and I remember going over it with them. $609 is what it cost them to purchase a home. That was all it took for this individual to become a homeowner. Get that out of your head. You don't need to save up $70,000, $100,000, $200,000. You don't need a lot of money in order to purchase a home. So just keep that in mind if you are one of those people that is setting money aside every single month. That's awesome. It's a great thing to save, but know that you don't need that much money in order to purchase a home. There's options out there. Now, these are just 5 myths that I found on Google. There might be other things on here that you want answers. There's nothing I haven't heard for the most part. And if there is a question that I don't know the answer to, you can guarantee I will find a way to find it. So if you're wanting more information, or if you have something specific you would like to learn more about, please hit me up in the comments and I'd be happy to make a video just for you. Myth number 3, only wealthy people can purchase homes. That's what? No, absolutely not. When I bought my first home, I was broke. I was making like 11 bucks an hour, did a 0 down loan. I was not wealthy at all. I was 23 years old when I bought that place. You do not have to be wealthy. You just have to know the rules, and you have to know what the options are in order to get eligible to buy that house, to qualify for that loan. This is one of my most favorite statistics because of how insane it is. When you compare homeowners to renters and their overall net worth between the amount of money and assets and stock and things you have in the bank, did you know that your average homeowner has over 40 times more net worth than that of a renter? 40 times. That's an insane number. Let's say your net worth as a renter is $100,000. If you were to times that by 40, do you know what that is? Times 40. $4 million. That's the average difference between someone who's a homeowner compared to someone who is a renter. If you're looking to become wealthy, homeownership is a great place to start. I know there's been a million of these quotes out there before, but the majority of people that are millionaires got their start and did it through real estate. And again, these are everyday people, just like me and you. If you can get into that home, let the power of equity work its magic, let it earn value over the years. Stop listening to the media. They keep telling you it's bad news to buy, but guess what? You know what all the big banks are doing right now? Buying real estate. They're buying residential, commercial properties because they know that is a long-term asset that is going to continuously grow in value. The time comes to either sell that place or whatever it might be, you can make a good chunk of money. Like, name any other product where you can get in with as little as, less than $1,000 and then 10 years later turn that into $100,000 or more. Real estate is one of the only things I'm aware of that you can do that. You need a place to live anyway, so you might as well get into it, stop throwing your money away every single month on rent. Because your landlord, you're definitely helping increase that dude's net worth. He's collecting that every single month. His mortgage is probably less than what you pay him. He's pocketing that, he's making money, and the home value is increasing. I mean, this is just a win all the way around. You don't have to be wealthy to purchase a home, but once you do purchase a home, plan on getting wealthy. Myth number 4, renting is always cheaper than buying. Really? I just explained how much more net worth homeowners have compared to renters. Yes, maybe in the short term, you're going to spend less per month than you might when you purchase that home for the first year. In fact, I use this example with a lot of my first-time home buyers. When you go in with rent, right, most of the time it starts at a nice rate depending on, how long you signed the lease for. Once that lease is up and you go in to renew it, chances are it's going to increase. So your payment starts here and it's just gonna slowly creep up through the years and get higher and higher and higher the longer you stay in that house, or if you switch over, move, whatever. It is a hassle and it is much more expensive in the long term. On the flip side, when you purchase a home, yeah, your payment that first year, especially if you're doing like a down payment assistance or a 0 down, or you don't have perfect credit, that monthly payment might be a little bit tight. I remember for me, when I bought my house, looking at that monthly payment thinking, ugh, this is gonna be a little rough. This is a lot more than I've been paying in rent. And here's what happens with mortgages. Right now, we're in a, interest rates are a little bit higher than what we're used to. The general consensus is that we are going to see interest rates come down. So if you buy a house now and the interest rate is, 7.5% or whatever it might be, 2 things. Well, 2 or 3. I don't know, let me explain. You're going in and you've got that fixed monthly payment if you're doing a fixed loan, which most people do. But let's say you get in at your monthly payment. Well, what's gonna happen when you start making those monthly payments? Part of that monthly payment goes towards paying that loan balance down. So the total amount of money that you owe is getting less and less every single month. And on the flip side, your home value is slowly increasing. So value goes up, balance goes down. Then if interest rates go down, you can go into a refinance a couple years later or a year later or whatever that might look like and lower your monthly payment. And you can do that as many times as you need to, as long as it makes sense and it's gonna lower your payment. So your first few years in the home are gonna be the most expensive as compared to renting, where it might be a little bit less. And as the years goes on, your rent goes up. With a mortgage, as the years goes on, if you're smart about it, your payment can actually go down. So in the long run, it's actually a lot less expensive. And everyone always forgets to factor in the equity portion. When you're paying rent every single month, that's money that's leaving your pocket. When you're buying and you're making those payments, that part of that money is going towards your actual payment and paying the balance down. With that value increasing, that's almost like extra money coming to you, even though you can't access it right away. So at the end of 10 years, if your home is worth $150,000 more and you paid the balance down by $50,000, you just made basically $200,000. Whereas over here, that money is just gone on the rent side. To me, that is why home buying makes the most amount of sense, because in the long run, you can start to use that money and it ends up being less expensive. Again, I'm living proof of it. I did it myself with my first house. That's how I was able to buy this house. Myth number 5. Myth number 5. This one's kind of different. I haven't heard this one before. You need to be an expert in home repairs and maintenance in order to be a homeowner. That is something that's good to think about now that I'm saying it, but honestly, you really don't need to know a ton. Because first of all, if you were smart and you bought a house, you should get a home warranty. That's gonna cover any of the major stuff that breaks, if it breaks within that first year, and you can keep extending that thing. If you're not a super handy person, that's okay. And if you're watching this video right now, where are you watching it? On YouTube. You know where I learned half the shit about what I needed to do around this house? Was on YouTube. I have an 11-year-old son who gets a little upset sometimes, and that anger turns into violence towards my walls. So I have repaired many drywall holes. So since he was the one that broke it, I decided I would show him how to do it. What we did is we pulled up a video on YouTube so that he could get a nice visual of what that looks like. So if there's anything that you don't know how to do around the house or any little maintenance items, honestly, most of them are super minimal. One of the biggest ones is changing out your air filters. I mean, that one is super easy. You can head over to Home Depot or Lowe's, or you can have Amazon ship you those filters. You can do it monthly. I do it every 3 months. You can buy the ones that are good for like 90 days. Honestly, like home maintenance, you really don't need to be an expert because again, we've got warranties for most things. You've got homeowner's insurance. My rental property, I recently had the water heater completely die on us, caused a massive flood. It was not fun to deal with. You know, we went through insurance, we got it covered, ended up getting, you know, quite a few other things repaired at the same time, and it really didn't cost me very much out of pocket. So yeah, there is a few little maintenance items here and there. You don't have to be an expert, and most of that stuff you can figure out just by typing it in on YouTube. If something breaks around the house, you just Google it, and you can find your answers. Don't let any of these myths scare you into thinking that you cannot become a homeowner, because they are all false. You don't need to have perfect credit. You don't need to have a ton of money. You don't need to be an expert around home repairs and home maintenance. All of those things will come. The whole goal, if you're looking to just better your financial situation, eventually have 40 times more wealth than the average renter, then homeownership is absolutely for you. So don't let any of those hangups hold you back. If you have something that's not on this list that you would like me to cover to see if maybe homeownership is possible for you, give me a call, shoot me a message, and I'm always happy to help. Thanks for watching, guys. Buy a fucking house.
So good.
Tense. Just kidding, my book. All right, how do I spit without getting all over me? That's what she said. Why does anyone have hair? This is awful. Okay, one more time. Good God. Okay. It keeps blowing in my face, dude.